Number one is insane. The pose, the look on her face. Oh, whew. Oh my gosh. That's wild. So what is the best way to combine artists in your Midjourney prompts? To be honest, I don't know, but let me show you everything I've discovered and then you can let me know what you like best. First, let's start with what words to use in your prompt. Here's my example. A little poetry, the tears of our universe. I guess that also says tears, but I wanted it to be tears like crying. The artist I chose was Don Maitz, and I focused on seed 30249 just to prove a point. Here's what it comes up with. But the other way I've written prompts like this before is using the words artwork by and then the artist's name. Here is the Tears of Our Universe, artwork by Don Maitz, and the same seed number, but the pictures are different. Not completely different, but they're different, which means artwork by changes the prompt. What do we do with that information? Is that a good thing? Does it really matter? I'm leaning towards it doesn't really matter, because if I mixed up the pictures and the prompts and asked you to pair them together, I don't think you'd be able to tell the difference. Like, is there anything about this generation that says artwork by? I don't think so. But maybe you can point out something that I'm missing. The next conundrum that I've run into is the stylized value. Here is the same prompt at stylized 0. It's kinda the same, but pretty different. And because this means the prompt is followed more closely, is that what we want to be using? Or do we want stylized 1000 where Midjourney gets some creative control? I don't know. I think they're all beautiful. And if you didn't tell me the stylized value, I would just assume these were different seeds. Like, I can't visually see the difference between S0 and S1000. Again, maybe I don't know what I'm looking for, and perhaps because of the poetry of the prompt, it's left up to a lot of interpretation. But it's important to know that there are differences. And maybe at this point, it's just a personal preference kind of thing. I don't know. Now let me go through kind of that same process with another artist, and then we're going to combine them together before we move on to some more pairs. Here is the Tears of Our Universe, Mignola. A very, very distinct art style. Just for the record, here's what the prompt looks like with artwork by. Not really sure if there's a difference, so for the purpose of this video, we're not going to get too caught up into how you specify the artist's name. However, that's not completely true because later on, I'll point out a situation where it might matter. Sorry, I'm not trying to sound confusing. I promise it'll be a little more clear by the end of the video. Now on to our first combination. And the thing I really wanted to prove, or at least point out, is how I believe the order of your prompt really, really matters. Which artist you put first, I think makes a big difference. I don't think it's conclusive, I don't think it's definitive, but I don't think there's any denying that it's not important. The Tears of Our Universe, Mignola, Don Maitz. I think Mignola is clearly more present here in the generation. Here's the same prompt with S1000. A bit of a different look, I'm not gonna lie, but still leaning towards Mignola, in my opinion. And just for argument's sake, here is artwork by Mike and Don. I could just chalk this up to a different seed number. However, it's got a pretty unique style to it. And why do I think the order of the prompt matters? Look what happens when Don Maitz is put first. Am I crazy, or does that look like Don Maitz was more important than Mignola? I think these are clearly different than when Mike was put first, right? Maybe? Here it is with S1000, and I wouldn't say it clearly has Don Maitz as the foundation, but it is clearly different than if Mignola was first. These are so beautiful, I actually like number one a lot. And I'd be wrong if I didn't point out, here is artwork by Don Maitz and Mignola, S1000. So clearly Don Maitz here, with like maybe shades of Mignola in some of the characters, like maybe in number one. But the color palette, like look at the purples and the blues, that's all Don Maitz. I'm sure if you were asking me for advice, I would have to point this out and be like, oh yeah, it matters. Because clearly something different happens where the names are not interchangeable. And you know what? What I should do is just switch the names around using the same seed and see what happens. So let's do that. A little live demonstration here. I'm going to use the new feature permutations to write this out a lot quicker. That should work. Show the prompts. Tears of Our Universe. No, I forgot. Edit template. Okay, my bad. We have to put seed, blah, blah, blah. Probably too much. That's better. Okay, show prompts. Works for me. Here it is with Don Maitz first, lots of familiar aspects. Here it is with Mignola first, completely different. Okay, I think that settles it. Absolutely the order of your prompt matters. Even when using the same seed, changing the order of the names gives you different pictures. Not just composition and whatnot, like different looking pictures. Book it. I think these next artists will show off why a higher stylized value might be important to you. First, we'll look at the prompt Ancient Superhero, and here it is by Laurie Greasley. Very unique art, very intricate, lovely color palette, a lot going on, but beautiful nonetheless. Same prompt by Phillipe Druillet. Stunning work, very intricate backgrounds with a well-defined subject. Now, when combining those two, you get a bit of a jumbled mess. It's kind of hard to see what's going on. I mean, they're still cool pictures, but this is the moment where a higher stylized value or even a lower stylized value might make more sense to you. And I apologize, this was with Laurie first. Here it is with Phillipe first, but I still think the same analysis applies. Kinda hard to see what's going on, but still pretty cool. Here's Phillipe first with S1000, and like, look at number 2. That intricate work, and imagine you turn this into a vector and really blew that up, all those details would come through. So beautiful. I like number 4 a lot as well. I like number 3 a lot. And then even this subject, this person right here in number 1. That's a cool picture. Here it is with Laurie first, and look how similar number 2 is to when Phillipe was first. Fascinating. S1000, by the way. Now at the other end of the spectrum, here's Phillipe first with S at 0. I don't know if these type of pictures will be for you, but that's a very unique art style. And I think seeing that consistently over a dozen different pictures would be really special. Here's Laurie first with S at 0. And look at number 1. Look at that composition and that angle, that point of view, if you will. Oh, that's so beautiful. Number 4 is crazy as well. That color in the back, like, that's insane. So for these two artists in particular, I actually like them at a higher stylized value as well as a lower value, which wasn't necessarily true for Mignola and Don Maitz, you know what I mean? Ultimately, it means that there's a lot to experiment with for any given prompt. Nothing is straightforward in Midjourney, and I don't know if that's what you want to hear, but it's the truth, and may the truth set you free. I'm actually really excited to show you these next pairs of artists. I think they're so cool when put together, and honestly, they're special apart as well. Here's the prompt, the tense moment between lovers and fighters, and this first artist is Tang Hoong. I think I said that right. Look how stunning these are. Number 1 is gorgeous, number 2 is crazy, but number 3, with this little splash of white at the bottom, that is so moving, that's so artistic, that is so larger than life. And I think it's amazing to see. The artist we'll be pairing them with is Erin Hanson. And look at this color palette, look at the brush strokes. I don't know if you'd call that oil painting, but in number 2 specifically, you can see where all the colors come from. So here we are with Tang Hoong put first, Erin Hanson after. I think the foundation coming from Tang is quite clear. It's that same composition, that same simple color structure, especially with the black silhouette. But then perhaps the splash and brush stroke of Erin Hanson comes through in every one of the pictures. Like this orange and blue is so beautiful, that red on the orange, and then this yellow on the orange. Holy cow. Now earlier I mentioned how I didn't think it mattered whether you used the artist's name or included artwork by before mentioning the artist. Here is one specific example where I think it might matter. The tense moment between lovers and fighters, Erin Hanson and Tang Hoong. Sure, clearly Erin Hanson, color, brush strokes, maybe Tang with the composition. However, my theory was that Midjourney thought I was mentioning 2 people to put into the prompt, someone named Erin and someone named Tang, and that is why there's 2 people here. Like Midjourney thought I was just saying John and Sarah, just the names of 2 people. I don't know why my intuition made me think this, but the idea of putting artwork by Erin Hanson and Tang Hoong seemed like it would make a difference. And I think it did, like a big difference. This is clearly Erin Hanson and clearly Tang Hoong. Could it have just been a seed thing? Maybe. But I think the difference between this and the previous pictures were a little too much to just discount on the seed. I could be wrong about that though. And look how good these are. These are so beautiful. The color palettes are insane. And if you want art that looks like this, consider using Erin Hanson and Tang Hoong, but include art by beforehand. All right, before we move on, I want to show you this combination with two different stylized values because it makes a big difference. Here's Tang Hoong and Erin Hanson at S0. Kind of slightly less pretty because it's following the prompt directly. But look what happens when we get to S1000. Like, holy cow, Midjourney's got an opinion here. These are freaking beautiful, man. The composition with the extra paint splatter, that's unreal. I actually have 3 more artist pairs to show you. Sorry if this video is a little long. Maybe I should make it into 2 parts. Probably not going to do that. But let's move on and I'll show you another little experiment that I tried. I went with the prompt, really simple, Apocalypse Easter, and we started with the artist Wong. Super beautiful stuff. I love the way the scenes project themselves with color and atmosphere. Like, number 1 is amazing with just this Easter bunny in the foreground of all the chaos. It's great. And number 4, that color is sick as well. And then on the other side of things, I went with Merriam. Way more going on in these pictures. Way more biblical almost. I feel like these come from a time where that color palette was much more muted. And these paintings look more historical, if that's the right way to describe it. What are they going to look like when they're put together? First, here is Wong and Merriam. I spelled Merriam wrong here. However, I don't think that's the biggest issue. Midjourney doesn't really seem to get obstructed by small spelling mistakes like that. I wouldn't make that a practice. Try to spell things correctly. But these are crazy beautiful. Number 2 is sick. And to be honest, I think the only time I can see Merriam come through is in number 4 with that desaturated color palette here. Here is Daniel first, followed by Wong. And much more Daniel, for sure. Maybe not number 4, that's kind of hectic. I don't really know what's going on there. But 1, 2, and 3 is a mix of that historical pushback perspective with Liam's color palette and chaos kind of making its way through. But the little experiment I tried was blending 2 of their pictures together. So I took this one of Daniel and I took this one of Liam, and it made these, which are kind of crazy that it really did mix their styles together. At least I think it did. And I was pleasantly surprised by what blending the 2 artists could do. It looks like something you could get just by using the prompt. And again, before we move on, I tried the different stylized values. Wong and Merriam, spelt incorrectly again, I apologize, at S0. So these are much more literal, and look at the chaos in number 3. That's crazy. That's beautiful, but it's crazy. And I think I ran into the same problem as before. Apocalypse Easter, Wong and Merriam. S1000. In my opinion, it just put 2 guys in the picture because of Liam and Daniel. And why do I think that? Because when you do art by Wong and Merriam, S1000, you get these, which is much more of what I expected, I guess. You got the Easter bunny walking through the apocalypse. And I don't know if I'm going to include this in the video, but you see his 3rd ear here? If we hit variations on that, I'm wondering if we can just get rid of it. Okay, the first artist of the next pair that we're going to look at is Coby Whitmore. Futuristic sports car, nice, clean, white. The same thing from Lehr, only a way different color palette. Much more fantasy over science fiction. Here's Coby Whitmore first, and I would say completely vintage retro with Paul's color palette. Here's Paul first and then Coby. Vintage retro, but much more fantasy than science fiction, in my opinion. Especially in number 4, in this sort of jungle on top of the water. Oh, and number 2 as well. Maybe I'm looking too much into it, but that's what I see. Here's Coby and Paul at S0. Not the best. Here's Coby and Paul at S1000. Look at that thick brush strokes. These paintings look amazing. Amazing. Oh, I love number 1, I love number 4. I like them all actually. Alright, there's a lot to go through with this next pair of artists, and I think it's my favorite pair of artists that I've ever discovered in Midjourney. I went with the prompt, the Crimson Nautical Superhero, and the first artist is J. Scott Campbell. Here he is at S0. Quite seductive looking people, honestly. It looks a lot like Mary Jane, and I think that comes from the word crimson. I'll fix that later. But for now, here's S500. Very graphic novel, comic book-esque. And here's S1000. I mean, is that not Elektra in number 1? I don't know. But the artist I combined him with is Mary Blair. Here she is at S0. Very, very distinct style, almost like paper cutouts, if you will. Here she is at S500. A lot going on here. And S1000. a lot more going on. Let's combine them, and we'll start with J. Scott Campbell first. Again, a spelling mistake. I don't think it matters that much, but oops. At S0, these are kinda cool. Here they are at S500. These are really stunning. I like them a lot, actually. Number 3 is crazy. Here they are at S1000. I love this style a lot. But I gotta tell you, using Mary first in the prompt, complete game changer. Some of my favorite prompts I've ever had. Here they are at S0. Look at number 1. That is absolutely stunning. Holy cow. And at number 3, there's 2 distinct subjects. Crazy. Number 4, got some Carmen Sandiego pirate vibes going on. Crazy. Here they are at S500, and I just got more goosebumps. Look how beautiful these are, man. Number 1 is insane. The pose, the look on her face. Oh my gosh. That's wild. And here they are at S1000. 4 distinct photos, but geez Louise, they're cool. Oh, I don't even know. It's hard to choose. I like them all. Okay, we're gonna use those same artists, but we're gonna use a new prompt. I didn't like that I mentioned the word crimson in the last one because I think that kind of reduced the overall creativity that Midjourney could come up with. I sort of constrained it a little too much. So we're going back to the simple futuristic sports car. Here is J. Scott Campbell S100, which is the default. This is what he would make. These are pretty cool sketches. Here's what Mary Blair would make. Super cool. Oh, I love that style. I don't even know what you'd call that. Kind of a pop art-ish with a little vintage vibe, maybe. Here is J. Scott Campbell at S500. Much more imaginative, much more of like a rough sketch of a graphic novel, I'd say. And on the other side of things, here he is at S0. Much more concept work as well. Here's Mary Blair at 0. Love the look. Dude, here is art by Mary Blair at S500. Oh my gosh, man. These are so cool. I love the alien look to it. Oh, it's amazing. And here they are combined. Here's J. Scott Campbell first at S0. A vintage look with a bit of a comic book vibe. Here they are at the default, and oh my god, look at these, man. Number 1 is crazy, number 4 is crazy, number 2 is crazy, number 3 is pretty crazy too. I love that color and how distinct the car is from the background and everything. Unreal. Here they are at S500, and what am I even looking at, man? Oh my god, look at number 3, dude. Oh, wow, this is so... That's amazing. Here's Mary first at S0. Kind of the cutout vibe with a little less structure, but that'll be improved in a second. Here they are at S100, the default. Look at number 2. That's so good. So good. And here they are at S500. I just got more goosebumps. Look at number 4. Look at number 2. Look at these. These are insane. Futuristic sports car is one of my favorite prompts, but combining these artists together, just the cherry on top. Let me know if there's any artist combinations you think I should try. I hope you're doing well. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Peace.